What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Miguel. You're watching Miguel EDC, the channel where we talk everything EDC gear here. Today, we're going to be reviewing this guy right here. Of course, we're talking about the Tuya Wrath, the Tuya Wrath. So yeah, there's quite a bit to unpack about this knife. I'm excited to be doing the review. A little bit of a bittersweet moment because I've had a pleasure to enjoy this knife a ton while I've been carrying it, but also I do have to send it forward to the next YouTuber. I believe this one's going back to Lefty EDC. Shout out to Kevin, aka Lefty EDC, for his knife pass around. Really appreciate him and the opportunity to check this knife out. By the way, this knife will be linked down below along with any other knife that you see in this video. It does help out the channel if you end up purchasing a knife through those links, but that is entirely up to you and also at no extra cost. So I got a chance to unbox this knife not that long ago, and unboxing video, by the time you're watching the review, the unboxing video of course is already live in the channel if you want to check that out if you haven't already. And yeah, it's definitely been a treat to EDC. This knife is just premium goodness right here. Very well executed. Really honestly love this knife a ton, with a very few nitpicks here and there, but other than that, I mean, it's a really great knife. And we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything else. First things first, we have a Dave Warren design, and Dave Warren with Tuya knives. He was also, I believe, co-developer of the Tuya Mutt along with CM Designs. Yeah, Dave Warren did a really killer job right here with this one. It is an S90V steel, and we have the titanium frag pattern going on. So first things first, check out the honestly what I believe is one of the most savage blades ever. This thing is a dual ground drop point kind of tanto in a way. It does have a hollow ground going on here, and it does have a flat grind going on in the front. It has a nice swedge going on in the spine up top here, and everything is bell satin finish, and that's what makes it so sexy looking, right? That bell satin finish, when the light hits it, it's just, man, so gorgeous, so good looking. So we have bell satin finish going on in different directions. Even the other portion right here seems to be hand rub or a bell satin finish as well. I mean, honestly, that blade is gorgeous, whichever way, whatever angle you look at it from, really. The only thing that really made me think is, I really wonder, right, Dave, if you happen to be watching this video, I really would like to see what the version of this knife would look like as a Wharncliffe, right? Sheep's foot Wharncliffe, call it the Tuya Wrath Wharncliffe or Warney or sheep's foot, right? I love this blade shape, right? Everybody loves a nice drop point, right? Some belly to it and things like that. But, Wharncliffe version of this with all the different, I don't know, dual grounds and all that would look amazing with the bell satin finish. Ooh, chef's kiss right there. That would be amazing. And I'll be definitely into that quite a lot. So the handle, we have frag pattern titanium, which is executed really well. Check that out. They did an awesome job on here. A little bit of Damascus, I believe, right here on the pivot. Give it a nice little accent, right? Make it pop. It looks nice. Notice how on the show side is where you have the actual screw itself instead on, the Tuya logo is on the other side, which is interesting. This part is captive, of course, so you only have to use one tool. We'll talk a little bit more about that during the hardware check. And this guy is as far as action goes, we have a front flipper, right? Which is really good. Front flipper works perfect. You can do the reach around also very well. You can do it with your index finger like that, right? Thumb deployment is good, and reverse flick as well, right? A little bit more challenging to do that reverse flick, but you can make it happen. But yeah, tons of different deployment options. We have a good amount of jimping and nothing crazy, right? But just the right amount. If there's a way to do jimping on a liner lock, this is my favorite way right here, right? Like the way it was executed, right? Gives you just the right amount of grip without tearing your thumb apart every time you disengage it. Just the right amount of tension on that lock bar. Great access from this side right here. The cutout for the lock bar is perfect. So you can push it out of the way right there, disengage. And this thing is drop shot all the way down, right? Check out the drop shot action right there. Boom. And the D10 is tuned really well for a front flipper. You can build just enough tension on that front flipper, and this thing fires out really well. And the acoustics on this thing are also very nice. Let's go ahead and do a quick size comparison, right? Let's do some of the, get some things out of the way here that we typically do during the review. We give you a ballpark idea where this guy lands as far as overall length. It is going to be a little bit longer than the Para 3, and it is just a tad bit shorter than the PM2, but a lot closer to the PM2. Honestly, somewhere in between. You guys be the judge there. What about the Demko AD 20.5 right here? This one also has a titanium handles, 20 CV blade, shark's foot. This is the Shark Cub, smaller brother, 20 CV slicer blade with aluminum handles. And the Wrath is just a little bit longer, right? Just a bit longer right there. Check that out. Here's the Wrath Model 1 and the Wrath Model 2. So the Wrath is definitely somewhere in between. If there was ever a Wrath Model 1.5, that's exactly the size that the Wrath comes in at. We should probably be more specific, right? I'm over here skipping steps and stuff. Overall length on this one, I don't know. You can tell I'm excited about this knife because I'm a little bit all over the place. So let me get it together. Miguel, let's get it together here. 7.75, so 7 3/4 inches right there on the overall length. The blade is going to be about, I don't know, let's see, about 3.4, 3.45. The cutting edge is around, is that 3 inches on the dot? Yes, it is, right? And the handle is going to be about 4.3, 4.35 on the handle, all right? So those are your measurements right there. Last but not least, let's bring out the Pyrite and the Raccoon, right? Very popular models right here. The Wrath is just a bit longer than the Raccoon and therefore also longer than the Pyrite as well. Okay, I want to put it against some of the titanium contenders because this knife makes a great titanium Tuesday or titanium Thursday, whichever 2 days of the week you want to do your titanium bling on, right? Here is the Kunwu Chad, another addition to the channel. This one is my own, by the way. I had to pick myself one of my own after checking out Work Knife Balances Chad via the Lefty EDC knife pass around, and I'm like, listen, I fell in love with the knife. I got my own, took about 2 weeks, and I just got it delivered very recently. Here's another titanium bliss knife right here, the Vosteed RSKAOS for your titanium Tuesday or Thursday, whichever one of those you want to do, right? So, you know, it just kind of gives you an idea right there. Check out another knife that I am currently carrying, and that is the Model 2, right? The Model 2 from American Blade Works, right? And last but not least, I'm going to do just one more titanium goodness here, and that is the Reate EXO-M, right? Reate EXO-M right there. Take a look. Let me know in the comments which one will be your pick for titanium Tuesday or titanium Thursday, whichever one of those two you like to go with. I gotta admit, right? I gotta admit, and I feel like a lot of us fall in this trap at some point in our EDC journey, and that is we end up falling in love with titanium, and we fall in love with titanium hard. Like, we really do fall in love with titanium, and honestly, that is what you have going on this one, right? This one does have different variations to the handle. So I do know they have the frag pattern, of course, with the squares, just like here, by the way. There's just enough indentation, right, on the cutouts. It gives you a good amount of grip when you have it in your hand, which is nice. I do believe they have a diamond pattern as well to this one. So we'll look maybe something like the diamond pattern right here on the Chad, which I'm also a huge fan of, perhaps more like the diamond pattern on the 80-20.5, something along those lines to give you an idea. They even have the, I believe, Urban EDC Segaha, I believe that is how it's pronounced, the Segaha, maybe one of those two, the Segaha pattern, which is like the wavy sort of waves sort of pattern to it as well, which is also very, very nice as well. Regardless of which configuration you get it in, I mean, you can't go wrong with the combination that you have here. So honestly, the action on this thing is really, really good. They really tune this thing perfectly. Honestly, it's money every single time. And typically, I mean, lately I've been checking out more and more front flippers, right? Really been checking out a handful of front flippers, and I feel like this one does a really good job because check out the jimping. Check out the jimping going on this one, right? We got some deep teeth going on here, quite deep, right? And it goes all the way around. I recently checked some other front flippers where the jimping wasn't as aggressive. Sometimes you could fail those if you weren't paying attention to what you were doing. But with this one, right, it's so aggressive that you're probably going to get it deployed every single time. It's just you want to be aware of how many times you do it, because at some point you're going to end up tearing your, kind of beating up your thumb a little bit here if you do it too often. If you know me, I'm a fidgeter, right? I EDC my knives. Obviously, I get the cutting, use, utility out of them, but a lot of times I'm just out here fidgeting with my knives. And this one just has the right amount of jimping to get a great grip, but just know that it's a little bit on the aggressive side, right? Very functional, right? Very well executed, right? So just maybe man up and get some, real man hands, right? Honestly, I'm just joking, but yeah, it's executed very, very well. Ball bearings on this thing are very good. Drop shot action, money every time. So also a pretty good weight, right? Really good on the weight department. I want to say this guy is milled on the inside, right? You can see the milling going on this side. A little bit of milling going on this other side as well, the lock bar side also. And for a medium knife, honestly, it feels pretty good, right? For comparison, doesn't even reach 4 ounces. It's 3.9 right there, borderline of 4 ounces, 3.9, right? For reference, something like the Chad would be a little bit more, right? 4.9 ounces, okay? Something like the Vosteed RSKAOS will be more, 5.5 ounces. So, sort of giving you an idea there. The Demko AD 20.5 with the titanium scales, that one is 4.2. So, I mean, honestly, really not that heavy at all, right? It's not exaggeratingly heavy and also not exaggeratingly light. You do feel a good amount of weight to it, substantial weight to give you that sense of, premium quality, right, that you would expect out of a titanium knife. It's also not like, a brick in your pocket or anything like that. Blade stock thickness here on this bad boy. Let's check that out real quick. This one comes in at 0.12, which is pretty common for knives. I feel like a lot of knives that I check out here in the channel, most of them are on that 0.12 thickness. Look at that handle, 0.50. So Dave Warren right on the money with, pretty much your standard thickness to the handles, like 1/2 inch is typically what I see the most out of all the knives that I check out. And 0.12 in the thickness for the blade is also the other more common thickness on the blade stock as well. So very, very right on with the money. Okay, let's talk ergonomics for a second. First things first, I want to point out that the handles are nice and chamfer all throughout, nice and rounded in the corners, right? The pattern is continuous, which I love. There's something to be said about continuous patterns that I just love so much. Recently been getting into titanium knives that have some sort of continuous pattern, whether it be lines, whether it be diamond pattern, right? Some sort of pattern, and the frag pattern here is great. But it's also nice and chamfer in the corners so that, it helps with the ergonomics. It gives you just the right amount of grip, right? And also doesn't, feel uncomfortable in the hand in any way. The pocket clip is also very well executed too, because it is also, you barely feel it. You barely, you barely remember there's even a pocket clip there to begin with. So I'm squeezing my fist here as hard as I can, and I'm good. I can, get to work here, no problem. You also have, I do have medium hands, right? Not the biggest, not the smallest. There's just ever so slightly little chunk of handle here. If you had XL hands, right? 4 to 5 X's, like really, really large hands, then probably at some point, just like with other knives, your pinky might end up in an uncomfortable situation here with this little peak towards the end of the handle, right? But other than that, if you have average size hands, which is what I have for the most part, you should be good. There's also a forward choke option, finger choke going on here, right? Gives you additional purchase right here, so you can forward choke, get more control cuts that way, control slices. And check out the plunge grind is way back here, and you have quite a lot of sharpening life out of this knife without getting a smile, which is very, very welcome as well. Pocket clip is deep carry, but not the deepest carry clip, right? About this much of the knife is going to show, which is not too bad. If you're not trying to conceal the whole thing, it does help for you to pinch and grip, pull it out of the pocket, which is nice. It is not reversible. I noticed that. It also, I also noticed this, right? It is a little bit more, it is tighter towards the top than it is towards the front. Typically that's the other way around. It's supposed to be a little higher on this back end and a little bit lower on the front end. Not that it makes a huge difference or anything, but if you're wearing extra thick jeans or something, that might be an issue. But other than that, check out the alignment on that blade. And this is after tons of use. I'm not anywhere close to being the first YouTuber to check out this particular one out of Lefty EDC's knife pass around. It's still right on the money. I also wanted to point out too, there's a serial number right in there. There we go. You can see it. This one is 32 out of 172. Not sure 172 where that number comes from, but seems to be part of a limited production right there. Just nice, right? Always like a piece with a serial number. That is, something nice for collection purposes as well. The other thing that I noticed here, which is pretty interesting too, is a little bit of a nitpick. The stress relief cutout is on the outside And notice how the pocket clip just lands right on top of it, right? It's a little bit closer to the top side, but even so, you know, a lot of companies nowadays are doing the stress relief on the inside. And I feel like that would have helped with this one if they had done it that way. I'm not sure if it got in the way with, you know, the frag pattern, you know, and also doing it from the inside, if it would have taken away some rigidity to the titanium or what have you. But typically on the inside, it's not only more aesthetically pleasing, but also, you know, less friction going in and out of your jeans or tearing your seams from your jeans at all and stuff like that. But you do have a steel lock bar insert right here, which is nice for that steel on steel contact. Typically with any lock bar knife, the idea here is as you use the knife more and more and more, this lock bar is going to go in more and more and more, therefore getting more like stronger lockup every time. Also the fact that when you squeeze your hand, you're putting additional pressure on the lock bar as well, therefore even locking it more and more in place. And typically the steel on steel contact is the more recommended way for longevity, right, for long term. So obviously that's what you see the most on knives these days. Let's do a quick hardware check on this bad boy. All right, we have, this guy is a little bit of a dancer, right? Check him out. Just move the table a tad bit and this guy is moving, dancing with the beat. So we have the Spyderco tool set. This one is highly recommended, linked down below if you want to check it out. They'll help out the channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. So the pivot is going to be a T8 as expected, right? Captive T8, right? Let me try something bigger just to, yeah, that T9 wouldn't fit there. And I do see, honestly, I think they did a pretty good job here. So T8 on all the other screws. I think I saw a review from Stasa's Knife Therapy, and his had T6 for some reason. So if at some point in the production they decided to upgrade to T6 all around, then that is definitely the right call. So good job to Tuya Knives right there for making that decision. The only thing that wouldn't be a T6, by the way, the pocket clip body screws are all T8. The only thing that wouldn't be a T8 is the insert, right? It makes sense. It's a very tight spot right here, so they put a T6 on the liner, on the lock bar steel insert screw right there. But other than that, everything else is T8. And so this guy comes in around, I believe, $250. It is linked down below in the description if you want to check it out. And it's available, I believe, in a couple of places. I'll try to link as many of the places where this guy is available down in the description. So about $250. And honestly, this knife is, in my opinion, highly recommendable, especially for the materials here, what this knife brings to the table. I mean, we're talking about S90V, which is pretty good premium steel. It actually holds a pretty good insane edge, and also pretty stainless, right? Pretty stainless. And also the fact that they're doing a dual ground belt satin finish. I mean, gorgeous blade. If I haven't already said that 100 times by now. You got the titanium handles, which are not just plain titanium. They have a pattern to it. You have different options, like I mentioned earlier. And this one here is executed very well. Love the back spacer, titanium back spacer going on here. It's also nice and premium, fits very well. There is a lanyard hole going on here, and honestly, I wish they had done maybe a little bit more of a solution like they did here with the Devo nip, right? Something like this, where they integrate the lanyard in the back spacer somewhere, so you don't see a hole in the show side, or any side for that matter. But here you see the hole all the way through. For like the 4 or 5 people that use lanyard holes, you guys can rejoice. But you know, definitely aesthetically speaking, would have been a little more preferred, you know, somewhere in the space bar, if anything. But I mean, those are nitpicks, right? That's not gonna make or break the knife. Obviously the functionality is there. This knife really performs very well. So the ball bearings are cage ceramic bearings. I'm not sure if I have mentioned that already, which of course those are better than just plain steel bearings, right? So honestly, there's a lot to love here in this knife, right? The build quality, the materials, the attention to detail. I mean, Dave Warren really knocked this one out of the park. Great design, really love everything going on with this knife. Can't really recommend it enough. I have recently purchased one premium knife, the Chad, and I have 2 other ones in the way, but at some point I would like to, you know, this one's going to be on my list of premium knives to pick up hopefully in the very near future, because I mean, I just been having a blast carrying this thing and I love it. Love everything that it brings to the table. The action, the execution, the ergonomics are spot on. The only other thing I notice is the thumb studs maybe could be a little, you know, a little bit more rounded, if you will, right? Check out the thumb studs here on the Demko AD 20.5, right? The standard for the most part. Check out the thumb studs on the Reate Model 1, right? A little bit of, you know, some steps to it with a nice dome on top. Makes for a more comfortable flipping action. Now, keep in mind, in order for this to get uncomfortable for me, I'm sitting there watching Netflix, flipping it like 100 bajillion times. So by the 100th and first time or what have you, then it gets uncomfortable. But for the most part, if you're doing it once or twice throughout the day, you know, this thing is in your pocket, it's not going to be an issue. I mean, would it have been appreciated if it was a little bit more rounded? Sure, right? If it had a little bit of more of a dome on top, some steps to it, that would have been appreciated, a little bit more comfortable, but it is not a deal breaker in any way at all. Let's, of course, do a quick paper cutting test on this bad boy. You already know this thing is going to cut very, very well. S90V, again, holding an insane edge, right? Check out those first few cuts right there on my chicken scratch notebook paper. And yeah, this thing is going to do insanely well, insanely well. So we know it can do paper all day, and this is not a brand new edge out of the box or anything. This thing has seen a significant amount of use. I'm going to try the little edge right here towards the front also. Right, you can get some cuts with that one, but obviously, you know, the hollow ground straight edge is probably going to be your best bet. But yeah, that tip will work, right? The only thing where I would prefer maybe a Wharncliffe or a sheep's foot a little bit more is when doing utility cuts, you do have to bend your wrist a little bit more than you would with something like a, let's say, the shark's foot, which really is a sheep's foot on the Demko AD 20.5, right? The tip is much lower than the pivot here. So doing those utility cuts is a little bit easier on that kind of blade. So that's what I'm saying, Dave. If you're thinking of doing a Model 2 to the Wrath, I mean, please consider doing a warning, because I'll be all over that. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, you still, you know, this one's still very, very functional, right? And obviously very slicey. We know it can do paper all day, every day. What about some cardboard? I got some dual wall cardboard here. From what is left of whatever this was. So double wall cardboard here, and remember, when cutting cardboard, don't cut perpendicular, but rather at an angle, and it will look something like this. All right, there we go. Yeah, that hollow ground is putting in work right there. And I want you to, you know, understand that dual wall cardboard is not as easy to cut as single wall cardboard. So any knife, regardless of how sharp it is probably gonna, you know, not struggle, but probably gonna take a little bit longer. Obviously, there's more friction to go through with dual wall cardboard, but it will get the task done, right? No doubt about that. And yeah, this thing is still holding an insane edge, and still no dings or nothing on this blade at all. So you guys rate it in the comments on a scale from 1 through 10. How sharp is this guy? How much of an edge has it retained? Let me know. Well, there you have it, guys. That is the Tuya Wrath. Tuya Wrath, awesome knife. Dave Warren design here. Definitely knocked it out of the park. This thing is a home run through and through. I believe these are still available, and if you have the money and you're looking for your next premium knife to pick up, let me just tell you, this one right here is a solid choice. So definitely consider this one for sure, because I sure as heck am. I just don't have an unlimited bank account, but I'm telling you, this thing is on my bucket list, ready for me to pull the trigger as soon as I have the funds for it, because the action, the execution, the materials, the fit, the finish, everything on this knife is really well executed, right? Very few nitpicks, which I mentioned throughout this video, but other than that, the pros far outweigh any sort of cons or any sort of nitpicks, if anything. So great knife all around. Highly recommend it. Again, it is linked down below. Those links do help out the channel at no extra cost to you. That being said, guys, let me know if I missed anything. What additional questions do you have about the Tuya Wrath? What else do you want to know about this knife? Let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have for me down in the comments. Let's have a discussion down there. If you made it to the very end, you guys are the real MVPs. Go ahead and smash that like button if you haven't already. I would really appreciate that. It does help out the channel a ton. and it does help this video reach a larger audience. Go ahead and subscribe while you're at it, right? If you like seeing knife content like this on a daily basis, subscribing to the channel will be the best way to stay up to speed with everything new here on the channel. New knives, reviews, unboxing, everything coming your way. If you want to support the channel a step further, there's a link for Patreon down below where you can support the channel for as little as $1 a month, or you can simply support the channel by becoming a member right here on YouTube. You'll get access to exclusive perks. That being said, guys, thank you so much for hanging with me until the very end. I really love you all. Appreciate your love and support, hanging out with me here, checking out this video. If you haven't seen the unboxing on the Demko AD 20.5, this one's a grail of mine for the longest time. Titanium diamond pattern handles here with the 20CV blade and of course the shark's lock. Check out the unboxing on this knife. I'm going to put a card for this video right here for you guys to check that one next. Love you all. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.